Hello, Steemit. Dr. Crypto here, and recently I had the opportunity to sit down with the Curie community representative, Carl Nash. We talked for quite a while, so I'm going to break up these posts into 4 different episodes. This first episode, we're going to talk about curation and some of the tools that curators use to find good content. Thank you for sitting down with me. It's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
We're here to talk about curating, and before we get into things, briefly explain to me, as if I'm brand new to Steemit, what is content curating, and
Sure. And I think it's a good place to start because I feel like the curation reward mechanism is one of the things that newcomers to Steemit don't understand, and they don't feel the need that they have to understand it. Before I even get into what it is, what curating itself is, I just want to real briefly talk about the curation reward, because there are 2 different ways that you can earn income on Steemit. You can earn income as an author of either posts or comments, and you earn rewards based on how much other people upvote your post or comment. You can also earn rewards by curating, which means that you can actually earn money through your own upvote of other content. And newcomers to Steemit have such a small stake as far as the amount of Steam power that they have that you can't truly make money from curation as a newcomer. So I feel like a lot of people see that. They're like, I can't make money through this, so why should I learn how it works? How does it apply to me? I don't need to worry about this until I've got more Steam power. And I think that's unfortunate because people actually do a lot of things that shoot themselves in the foot as far as doing things that is preventing their own content from getting curated because they don't actually understand the way the curation reward works.
I see.
So, curation in a nutshell, what a curator is looking for is good content that has not yet been discovered by somebody else. A curator's goldmine is an exceptional post that has 0 upvotes, 0 cent pending reward. And the first significant upvote on a post is going to get the lion's share of the curation reward. So if a bunch of newcomers come and vote tiny little votes that don't actually have any value, and the post is still 1 or 2 cents payout, and then a curator comes along and is like, this is a great post, gives it a nice fat $1 or $2 upvote, and then re-steams it on their own account, and then the post ends up taking off, and a bunch of other votes come in after the fact, the post goes up to $50 payout, the curator is going to get a good chunk of that eventual post payout, 25% of it, roughly.
But it's hard for the newcomers to...
Right. It's proportionate to the upvote that you put in. So if you're putting in an upvote that is worth literally, 0.000001 cent, you might get 0.000001 back in curation reward.
Right.
So from that standpoint, it really doesn't matter too much to a newcomer. But there are many things that newcomers do that would basically disincentivize an experienced curator from upvoting their post. So the main thing, as I was just saying, is that the first significant upvote on a post is the one that's going to get the majority of the curation reward. I should back up slightly and say that for the first 30 minutes that a post has been created, if it is upvoted within that time, more of the total post payout is going to go to the author and less is going to go to the curator. If you upvote a post that is 1 minute old, the author gets all of the reward and the curator doesn't get anything. It's when a post is 30 minutes old or older and somebody upvotes it, they're getting the full curation reward and not the author.
So you need to wait that half an hour if you're expecting to get any sort of payback from a curation reward.
Yeah, so a curator is not, a curator who is actually after the rewards from curation isn't going to be upvoting posts the instant they come out. They'll wait and upvote it 30 minutes later, at least 30 minutes, so that they gain the maximum amount of the curation reward. I'm sure we're going to get into this topic in more depth later, but the number one thing that I see people doing wrong as far as a new post author goes is immediately after they write a post, they put in a bid to a vote buying service to put in an upvote on their post. And so when their post hits 30 minutes old, a big upvote comes in that they paid for themselves from a vote buying service. And by doing that, any potential curation reward that might come from that post is going to the service that put that vote there. So you're basically paying for the privilege of giving the curation reward to this vote buying service, and making it much less likely that an experienced curator who's got a decent amount of Steam power and a bunch of followers who might have been willing to give you an upvote and a re-Steam is going to take a look at it and say, I'm not going to get anything from this. You already bought a $1 upvote from whatever this upvote service is. If this post ends up taking off, that upvote service is going to be the one who's getting this curation reward. So we'll talk about the more higher level reasons why I don't think vote buying services are a good idea, but just even from the more selfish perspective of if you want to maximize your own chance of your post taking off, don't buy an upvote the first day of your post. You can still buy it later if you absolutely have to, but give curators at least a day to try to find your post and upload it. And it's just something like all the time I see people that have basically made it so that no curator is going to touch their post because they instantly bought an upvote the second they put the post out there.
I see. That's good to know. With that being said, is there a difference between... so essentially, if you comment on a post or vote on a post, almost everybody on steemit is to some degree a curator. What's the difference between a good curator and a bad curator?
Sure. Well, I suppose it depends. There's a lot of different metrics that you could use to evaluate that.
Right.
You could look at it just in terms of the return that the curator gets as far as what their curation reward is weekly in proportion to their Steam power.
Right.
By a lot of those metrics, I'm within the top 1 or 2% of curators on Steemit. If you look at my total Steam power and the curation reward that I get back, I weekly get more than 1% back of my total Steam power and curation rewards.
Oh wow!
So most of my Steam power is delegated out, but on my main account I've got about 300 or 400 Steam power, and I get at least $3 or $4 curation rewards every week from that.
Nice.
So it's not insignificant, and but that's only one way to look at it, really.
Right.
And in fact, I don't think it's the best way. To me, a good curator is somebody who's going outside of just the popular posts from popular posters and is taking the time to find authors who have yet to be discovered and is kind of taking a flyer on them. You look at this author's feed and they've made a bunch of good posts. None of them have made any reward. There's a chance that if you upvote this, it still won't make a reward. But you're like, hey, this is a good poster. I want to encourage them to stay on platform, and so I'm going to curate them. And so that is less of a money-oriented way of looking at curation and more of just the Steemit as a gift economy sort of ethos where you're wanting to help people out and you're wanting to encourage the long-term health of the platform. Oh yeah.
And here we are.
Do you want anything else on this right now?
I am good. I actually may need another napkin or two.
Oh yeah.
So, lots of different ways to look at it, but I personally am not actually focused on maximizing my income from curation, and I'm much more focused on trying to help new authors become discovered.
That is something that I myself have been trying to do, and I find it relatively hard to find those gems, buried within within Steemit.
Sure.
I guess we can get into this now. What tools do you find the most helpful?
Sure.
In finding great undiscovered posts.
Sure. So without bashing steemit.com or Steemit Inc. in any way, because I fully recognize that this is a beta website, a beta service, the built-in search functionality is pathetic.
Right.
It is just pathetic. There is absolutely no advanced search functionality. If you want to search by tag, you can only search by one tag at a time. There's no easy way to scroll backwards in time through results, so you're basically, if you're using the search tools that are on platform, you're pretty much restricted to either going to an individual's blog and looking through their posts,
right.
and in which case you still have to just scroll backwards through time. You can't easily pick out posts that they posted months ago or whatever. Or you're restricted to going to one of these categories and just scrolling through the category, but again, starting with newest first and just having to just scroll backwards. It is not an efficient process. You would think that they would have prioritized some kind of advanced search, some kind of filtering, like you would see in a website like YouTube, where you can select posts with various lengths. You can select multiple tags.
I'm sure that's all going to come as Steemit evolves.
Exactly, and so that's why I started off by saying I don't want to bash Steemit.
Right,
I understand this is a beta service, but just observing the facts that as things stand right now, it is extremely hard to find new content, and that's made worse by the fact that there are so many people who come on and are just basically spamming plagiarized content. They don't care to or don't understand how to write their own original content, and they see that they could make a quick buck by copying a Wikipedia page or whatever and pasting it in,
video.
or even just spamming comments. I mean, as horrible as it is, I still see people upvoting comments where it's like, follow me and I'll follow you back, and somebody gives them an upvote. You're like, every time you do that, you're just encouraging this person to just spam comments. So there's an awful lot of crap out there to sort through. So all that being said, the tool that I've found most useful is SQL Query, which is a database language. Archange, who's a witness and is really just an awesome guy for everything he's done for the Steam, has set up a public database, a SQL database that mirrors the Steam blockchain. So it's publicly accessible. Anybody can connect to it with a SQL client. There's freeware SQL clients. And SQL is a code language, so it's not super user-friendly. You would have to, have some basic understanding of SQL to be able to use it. But once you do attain a basic understanding of SQL, you can basically create your own custom search filters and look for new posts by any number of different criteria.
You have a post from about a month ago that sort of goes through this and explains it.
Yep, I have two posts. They both start with "Curate like a boss." I think it's probably getting close to 2 months ago at this point.
Yep.
I'll note that I had absolutely no SQL experience up to a week before I wrote the first post there. I just kind of dove into SQL, started teaching it to myself, cribbed together a couple queries, got to the point where I was having some results, and I wrote that post. It was a pretty well-received post. I've progressed a fair ways in my understanding of SQL since the second post, and I probably need to write a new post. But even these two posts give you an excellent starting place of how to connect to the Steam SQL database, a very beginning look at how to set up a query to filter by such specifications as author rep between a range or post age between a range, minimum number of character count in the post, a pending payout limit. So all these different ways that you can filter new posts, and I found that extremely useful myself, so that when I don't just have to go through the feed and if I'm trying to find new authors, I don't necessarily need to look at all these posts by authors that are rep 70 or rep 65.
Yes.
I filter them out to begin with. I don't necessarily need to look at posts that already have, $10 pending payout. Somebody's already found those people, so I filter them out. I don't need to look at posts that have been flagged or upvoted by Cheetah because they're plagiarized, so I filter them out to begin with. And so it just makes the haystack smaller.
Any other tools that you use, or is that mainly the main?
As far as actually turning up posts, that's what I use. I do have I used to use a few different plagiarism detection tools, and ultimately I found that Google outperforms them all. There were many instances where I would paste in the full text of an article into, I've tried probably at least a dozen online plagiarism detection tools. And you paste the full text in and it's like, oh, this is fine. And then you just start checking random paragraphs in Google and it's like, here you go, here's where it's from.
Right, and control right click on an image, you do a reverse search on it.
Exactly, you can reverse image search. So I use Google both to detect text and images if I get a whiff that it's plagiarized.
Right.
But more so than that, I also just try to look for things that would clue me in that this was copy-pasted from somewhere. So things to look for would be very strange formatting issues that wouldn't occur if somebody was either typing it in a word processor and pasting it in or typing it in the native post editor. A really common thing that you'll see is hard returns in weird places in a sentence. So the text is going along and then like right in the middle of the sentence there's a hard return. And then like there's two more words and another hard return, and then the sentence comes on. Nobody's going to hit the return key twice in the middle of typing a sentence, nor would they do so on a word processor. But if you copy this in from a website, oftentimes the formatting gets funky and something like that will pop up. So you look for little subtle clues, or broken image links are another one. Steemit only uses certain image formats. It doesn't accept bitmaps. So if you're pasting in an article from somewhere else and you see broken image links there because the article had a bitmap image, so you just look for that tiny little icon that's a broken image link. A few little things like that, but really for the most part I'm using SQL Query to turn up the posts, and then I'm just kind of scanning through them. If something looks promising, I go look at it on the site.
Right. Stay tuned for episode 2 when we talk about Curie.